Sure, I worked at Boeing Aircraft Company in Long Beach, California, and as a surface technician, working for the commercial side and military side of Boeing in Long Beach, California, formerly McDonnell Douglas Aircraft Company. And I became interested in ham radio about 1980. And I got my ham radio license. And in 1987, I was scanning my ham radio, the frequency band, and I came across a conversation. Two people were in conversation, one in El Toro and one in Newport Beach, and they were talking about bombers and fighters. And the other person that was living, well, actually there were three people, one in Toluca Lake, which we are close to right now, and he was continuing to call him General. And you don't do that on ham radio. On CB radio you do that. They're called handles. And so I waited for them to clear out, and they went back to the gentleman in Toluca Lake and asked him why he was calling this person in Newport Beach General. And he told me that he would talk to me about that off the air, in which I had then gave him my phone number. And at the time I was in Signal Hill, and I told him to give me 30 minutes to get home and to call me, in which he did. And he called me and he informed me that the reason why he was referring to the person in Newport Beach as General is because he was a general, and this was 4-star General and Chief of Staff of the Air Force, General Curtis Lemay. I proceeded to monitor the frequency for about 2 weeks. I waited for the right time to come in and break in, and I talked to Curtis Lemay on the air. I took it upon myself to drive down there. I looked up his address using the FCC database in Long Beach, drove down to Newport Beach and rang his doorbell, electronic security gate, and his wife, Helen, let me in. And I was looking for the doorknob, and I couldn't find one because they didn't have a doorknob, and so I just grabbed the gate and went in. And as soon as I walked in the front door, there was a big bust of Curtis Lemay depicting him as Chief of Staff of the Air Force. And that blew me away right there. And then I knew this was Curtis Lemay. And we sat down and talked in his den. He put his feet up on his coffee table, which there were Air Force magazines sitting on top. And directly to our left was a picture of him in the White House with President Kennedy. Curtis Lemay was fully dressed in his uniform. And I asked Curtis Lemay, and I said, Kurt, and I said, when you were in the Air Force, out of the 100% of sightings that came into the Air Force, how many of them were not identified? And he said, out of the 100% that came in, only 35% of them could not be identified. And I asked him, well, why couldn't they have been identified? And he said, because the craft are too damn fast. We can't catch them. In fact, he used some foul language in there too, in his explanation. And then I asked him about the Roswell crash, if that really occurred. And he looked over at me and he shook his head yes, that it did occur. And I said I was particularly interested in the strange writings that were found inside. And I said, were they ever deciphered? And he said, far as he understood, they were not deciphered when he was in office. And then I asked him about if he ever knew where these things were coming from, their point of origin. And and he looked over at me again, and he said, he said, don't give anything to the CIA. He said they want their hands into everything. They usually do get their hands into everything, and they get away with it. And I said, what about the FBI? And he said, no. And he said that's all wrapped up within the Central Intelligence Agency, and they took it away from him. And he was angry. He was angry about this, and in fact, he became so angry he coughed, and he grabbed his stomach as if his stomach hurt. What I found very interesting about Curtis Lemay is that Senator Barry Goldwater tried to get close to the truth. Of course, that was many years ago before I met Curtis Lemay. And when I sat down to talk to Curtis Lemay, he was kind of apprehensive to talk to me about what I was asking him about. And so I mentioned that I met the former chief agent of the Los Angeles FBI, Richard Britzing, and he didn't know him, and then I mentioned a CIA agent who I met, whose name is Brett Merrill. He's now passed away. Was living in Long Beach for a while, then moved to Layton, Utah, and then he passed away from cancer. He didn't know this gentleman either, but I told him what they told me, and then Curtis Lemay started to open up and talk about what he told me about Roswell and the crash that had occurred. And he told me that he was aware that it wasn't ours, it wasn't the military's, the Air Force or the Army or the Navy, and it was highly strange. It was a highly strange vehicle that crashed, and he took over the office from General Nathan Twining. Nathan Twining never told him anything either, and apparently Curtis Lemay was not aware of Twining's involvement in Majestic 12. And by the way, Majestic 12 is real. MJ-12 did exist, but it does not exist today. The name was changed. The positions are still the same. Henry Kissinger is very well knowledgeable about what's going on. Henry Kissinger was in the loop, as I was told. And
who told you this?
a friend of mine that worked at the NSA. He told me this. He saw Henry Kissinger's name on documents. He saw George Bush's name on some of the documents. He was made aware of what's going on in about 1978. Reagan was fully briefed on the alien presence. Reagan told Mikhail Gorbachev of Russia about 75% of what's going on, and then Gorbachev became very, very close to us. I find that highly strange. CNN reporter in Washington, D.C., the second time that Gorbachev came to America, CNN reporter was able to interview Gorbachev and his wife when they got out on the street and they drove the security detail up the wall. And a CNN reporter asked Gorbachev, do you think we should get rid of all of our nuclear weapons? And his wife stepped in and she said, no, I don't think we should get rid of all of our nuclear weapons because of alien spacecrafts. Now, CNN put this story on for the half hour, the CNN headline news, and I heard this and I jumped up and put a blank tape in to record the next half hour. Well, that story disappeared, and you know who did that, who intercepted that. That was the CIA that got involved with that, because I know they were monitoring CNN and all international headlines at that time, and they squashed that, but I heard it, and this tells me that my information is correct about Ronald Reagan and from my NSA source, and it's just total overkill as far as I'm concerned, and it's just Congress needs to know about this information. The news media will not put the real information on because they still think it's a non-subject until somebody in power, such as the Secretary of State, the director of the administrator of NASA, comes out and says something about that there might be something to it. Well, I had told him earlier about some sightings that I was aware of in Nevada, near Mercury, Nevada, near Tonopah, and he said that the FBI agent was, his name was Richard Britzing. He's now head of security at the Mormon Church in Salt Lake City, Utah, and he had referred me to the United States Air Force office in LA near the Los Angeles airport, off of El Segundo Boulevard and the 405 freeway. and that they would be interested in hearing reports of close sightings, very close sightings, and even landings of these things. And Curtis Lemay shook his head yes, and the CIA agent, Brett Merrill, told me that he had dealt with the United States Air Force regarding missiles to try to shoot these down when they come into our airspace. And that's basically what the CIA agent told me, and he also told the agent told me that the CIA agent told me that he was aware of the situation, and it's extremely classified, but he was aware of what was going on. He was a national intelligence agent. He said that we hit several of them in Nevada, over Ely, Nevada, and other portions of New Mexico near Albuquerque.
Did he indicate what time frame these events happened?
This was in the late 60s and 70s. I've met a gentleman that was in the Army, in the CID, that was involved with several crash recoveries when he was in the CID in 1947, when he was inducted in the United States Army. He was in the CID, and several of his friends were in the CIC, counterintelligence, and they became very close one another, and he handpicked a friend of mine that worked at Boeing Aircraft Company in Long Beach to become a part of a crash recovery retrieval in northern northern New Mexico, and apparently he saw some of the aliens and witnessed the craft, and he was put guard around this crash disc that had crashed, and they gave him a M1 carbine rifle to guard anybody that tried to get close to it, and they were given orders to shoot anybody without authorization. They recalled him on several other crashes. They had to fly him with blackened out windows to several of the crash sites, and some of the crash sites were very putrid to smell, and they had to back up about 45 feet away from the craft to escape the smell. He said it smelled like rotting eggs intermixed with rotting mustard. He said it was just horrible.
And this is someone that you knew?
Yes, I personally know him. He's still currently alive.
Is he still working or retired?
Oh, no, he's retired.
And do you know his name?
Yes, I do.
Can you share it?
Not at this time.
Okay. Did you meet anyone else at Boeing that had been involved in this area?
Just one of the security guards that worked there that was working for the Treasury Department, and he left disgusted because of the low pay, and he picked up a job at McDonnell Douglas Aircraft Company because of the better benefits and better pay scale, and he knew people in the Secret Service, and even some of those people in the Secret Service know about the alien connected projects, and that the phenomenon is real. And I found that kind of funny, because of they're not cleared to hear the information. They don't have the classification to hear the information, but yet people in the Secret Service know about it. And I found that kind of hilarious. And I interviewed this security guard at McDonnell Douglas Aircraft Company for about 45 minutes regarding the subject. He was trying to find out where there was one crash that occurred. One crash occurred in. He believes that from his commander it occurred in the desert of New Mexico, northern New Mexico, and there was another one that crashed in Nevada, near Ely, Nevada, and the other crash, a total of 3. He didn't know where it was because nobody wanted to talk about it, and they were all told to shut up.
So when he was on site, he didn't really know where he was because he was flown in on a blackened craft?
Yeah, that's correct. They were taken to several crash areas in an aircraft. They were then landed. They were taken by Jeep. They were told not to look out the Jeep at all, to keep their eyes in one position. They were told not to talk to anybody, There, in fact, one of the locations, one of the military officers said, he goes, "Gentlemen, we're not here on a Hollywood movie set. This is a highly classified mission. You're not even supposed to talk to your family about this." And they had to sign security oath statements that they would not talk about this for 50 years regarding the crash sites that they were taken to. These gentlemen saw, my friend had seen personally the dead aliens. They had almond-shaped eyes, darkened, rather large head, little bit larger than human head. Their bodies were about the size of about a 9-year-old child. Their hands were, they had 4 fingers, no thumb. He told me they all looked like they came out of a mold because they all looked the same, and their mouths were just a small slit. The typical description that's out in the field: real small ears, no hair in the head, just really strange looking to him. He thought they were probably a part of a genetic research, possibly of the Germans, but the technology that he saw in the craft could not be of German technology because of the fiber optics that were found inside, and some of the slide switches that they had inside the craft that we didn't even have, and nobody else on Earth would have that type of technology.
What dates were these? Did he give you any specific or just a general?
This was started in 1947. There were more crashes than Roswell, but people don't understand is that there was one in 1948, and there was another one in 1949. The 1949 crash was a rather large craft, and the people inside were a little bit taller. They were about 5'8" tall, and these individuals' noses were quite long. They kind of looked like the ancient, not the Sumerians, but there's a race I can't recall at this time. But there's they looked a lot like an ancient race around Palestine, probably about 3000 BC. He told me that he picked up one of these aliens and put it on board of one of the Jeeps, and he said it felt like, the alien felt like probably about 45 pounds at most, maybe 40, and they put him in body bags and took him to, and for hours, what he told me, they took him to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base at the time. Later they started taking some of them to Colorado and northern New Mexico, and then later on at Area 51 in the late 1960s. All crash debris and technology and anything that had to do with the alien-connected phenomenon all went to Area 51. These craft were circular shaped. They were not chevron shaped, and they were very, very light. 6 people lifted up a 60-foot in diameter craft and put it on a carry-all. And he said it was this really strange metal. He rubbed his hand on it, and it felt really smooth, like somebody had just buffed it out with a buffer.
Did he indicate how they came to be disabled?
Yes, he said that he was, as far as he could gather from his friend CIC, the FBI was checking into this too. They were interested as to why these things were crashing, and they found out that the radar testing in New Mexico was the cause of a lot of them that were crashing, and high-powered transmitters. When they would get too close to transmitters, they would cause interference, like in 6 meters, or UHF high-powered transmissions. It would interfere with their guidance control, and they would just crash. And other craft that crashed, we had shot them down with our military weapons. That's one of the things that I do remember him telling me, that there's another alien group that looks a lot like the human race, and they're called the Orange. Through my mother, at Boeing Aircraft Company, my mother's now deceased, and her friend is now deceased. Now I can talk about it. My mother had met a tube bender in McDonnell Douglas Aircraft Company, which is now Boeing, and his close friend worked at Northrup. He was working on the stealth program at the time, and this guy is an absolute brain in mathematical, with mathematical figures and fixing things and making things work and correcting everything to make everything work. The higher ups at Northrup were dumbfounded by this guy, and they recommended him to work with the projects up at Area 51 in Nevada. And apparently he's been working up there for at least 5 years, and they inducted him into the Alien Connected Projects to work specifically on the technology and try to figure out how these things work to back engineer them. In fact, I asked him where they're coming from, and he told me, he said, I can't answer that. That's so highly classified. And another reason why he didn't answer it regarding where these things are originating from is that his son is still working within the connected projects, and he didn't want to even talk about it. But he did tell me that he worked on the craft to back engineer them. He's aware of their existence. He knows that I met the Chief of Staff of the Air Force, General Lemay. He told me several times of the testing that took place at Area 51, that some of them come up behind the mountain and they just blink out and disappear. And then they appear about 15, 20 miles away from where he originally saw it within about 20 seconds and just reappear and do that.
These are made by humans?
No, these are the real things. These are the ones, the craft that he has been working on. And they go.
Who's doing this?
This is us. This is our military testing these vehicles up at Area 51.
And the vehicles were made by whom?
By the extraterrestrials. I would like to work up there. And he said, you're better off working at Boeing because it's a very, very restrictive and repressive place to work. And he said, you're better off at Boeing because the security at Area 51, they have security within security, watching other people, their other security people, and it drives them up the wall too, and it drives the employees up the wall, and that's why they have a big exodus up there of some of the employees that work there. They can't stand the environment up there because you can't do anything. You can't talk to anybody. You can't. It's just. He said it's horrible. It's a horrible place to work. Area 51 is just. It's just a horrible place to work. It's like working in Russia when Russia was communist country. He was working for Northrup, directly for Northrup. He was not working for the military, any of the military services at all. He was receiving his paycheck from Northrup.
So Northrup has an involvement with Area 51?
Oh yes, so does Lockheed Martin, Boeing Aircraft. They do trucking for Area 51, Boeing Aircraft, Hughes. Most of the major defense contractors have something to do with Area 51. They're not let in to what's going on. They're not even allowed access to S4, Site 4, but they do truck for Boeing trucks for Area 51. I do know that for sure. I found that out from a friend at Boeing that told me that they were hiring up there for trucking for some of the military sites up there. And I found out from him that he had personally gone onto Area 51, escorted to Area 51 from the main highway.
Did this contact, by the way, you say he's passed away now?
Which one?
The one you're discussing now.
No, he's still alive.
Oh, he's still alive.
No, he's still alive. In fact, he knows where the aliens are originating from. In fact, I asked him that, and he's absolutely refused to discuss that, which I previously stated.
But he's not at Nellis anymore. He's at Boeing.
Oh no, he's fully retired. as far as he understands, there is an underground area there, and there's a lot of extraterrestrial debris down below Area 51 and stored some sort of a containment area. And but he has never seen any extraterrestrials at Area 51 walking around and conversing with anybody there at Area 51 or at S4. It's just the craft and the technology that they're trying to extract from these vehicles to incorporate that technology into our fighters and possibly some of our space programs.
Developed propulsion or energy systems from this study?
Just basically laser technology and sound wave defense mechanisms. Sound wave to blow up tanks, buildings with just sound waves. And some of the laser technology came from these craft he told me about. And we're incorporating this technology from these craft at Area 51. And I also found out that they are moving a lot of the personnel and some of the equipment and some of the extraterrestrial technology equipment and the craft to base up in Utah. He mentioned there's a base here in California near Enzo, California, and there's another base in the deserts of I believe he said Tajon or Tajon. I believe he said Tajon. Tajon, I believe that's the word that he used. There's a base near Lancaster and Palmdale area. And near, this is very funny, it's near Northrup. There's an underground area out there too that he was aware of. And but he particularly mentioned and stayed focused on Enzo, California. There's some underground areas up there too that they're researching some of this technology and at March Air Force Base through Project Red Light.
What is Project Red Light?
Project Red Light is a program to test these vehicles and extract as much information as possible from the alien connected projects to find out how these things operate and gain as much information to possibly use this for our advancement, for our, like I said, for our fighters and bombers and for our space connected projects. And it further verifies what I was told by people that were in the Army and the Air Force and people that worked at Area 51 to corroborate what's going on regarding Project Red Light. And Project Red Light is still continuing as of this day. He wasn't out of Nellis, he was out of Area 51 primarily. Okay. Northrup hired him to go up there and help the cause up at Area 51 to try to find out how these things work. And I believe he started in 1980 and he left there probably about 1997. And by the way, Project Red Light and Project Grudge, they're all intermixed. The director of Project Blue Book, Robert Friend, told me this. He was fully aware of Project Red Light. And he formerly used to work at Fairchild in Redondo Beach on aviation and Rosecrans. And we talked for about an hour on the phone, and he was also reluctant to talk to me about the phenomenon until I told him that I met General Lemay. Well, and of course the CIA agent too, and the FBI agent. And so then he started to open up and talk to me about the situation of UFOs, and I asked him about some of the crash debris that was taken to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base after the Roswell crash. And he had told me that yes, some of the debris and the bodies were taken to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio, and some of the other stuff were taken to a base in Florida. And that shocked me because I never heard anything about a base in Florida, some of the crash debris being taken to Florida. And And then I told him, I know somebody that used to work at the National Security Agency. He had a top secret Umber clearance, and he also told me about some of the information about the aliens. And then he really opened up and started to release information. And then, I said, I understand that you wrote Project Grudge Blue Book Report number 13. And he said, yes. And I asked him, I said, where are these crafts coming from? And he told me he didn't even know where these crafts were coming from. All he knew was that the aliens are real. He's aware that they're coming here, they're penetrating our airspace. They're trying to become close to us. The aliens want to become close to us for some reason or another. They want to try to look like us because they know something is coming. What that is, I don't know. We are absolutely 100% aware of what's going on regarding this intrusion into our airspace, and that we're trying to get a lid on this to try to minimize the sightings, to quell the news media and the witnesses that are reporting these sightings to the news media, and to try to draw an interest in this, to try to push for a congressional investigation. And the Air Force didn't want this. They wanted to push this thing under the rug and continue to research this and just get a handle on it and try to get as much information and technology out of these crafts as fast as they could, and to steer the news media off on some crazy idea that these sightings were created by college pranks and balloons and meteorological problems, and they just try to sweep it right under the rug. And this is what Robert Friend told me, that the whole project was to collect as much information as they could, and a lot of the information was siphoned off by the CIA and the National Security Agency and people at ONI, Office of Naval Intelligence. No, just the fact that he had mentioned that there were other agencies clamoring for control, and in fact going right directly to the president to get that control. What he told me regarding the security ramifications were that if their military personnel were to talk about this, they could be court-martialed, or at least threatened to be court-martialed, to get them to back down and to scare them. And other intimidations would be to hold their paychecks back, transfer them to other bases where a lot of people would not want to go to, like Alaska. Well, through my NSA contact, he was in the Army. The NSA is a part of the Army. He was in advanced intelligence gathering. He had a top secret Umber clearance. He trained at the NSA at Fort Meade, and then they transferred him to a satellite monitoring station, and he had received several transmissions from the Pentagon and from other satellite monitoring stations of the NSA that they were tracking ETVs, extraterrestrial. It stands for extraterrestrial vehicles, and this is the lingo within the NSA. How they communicate back and forth is ETVs. Other military services refer to them as bogies, or a long time ago UFOs. Of course, now they're considered to be flying saucers. He had told me that the NSA is fully aware of the extraterrestrial presence. We've intercepted many of their signals during the 60s, and we were testing transmissions to try to jam their transmissions and to try to communicate with them. And he had told me that he was aware of top secret bases in Colorado that were monitoring the situation, and there is another base in London that is also monitoring the situation regarding the extraterrestrials through MI5 and MI6 He told me that the President of the United States, Jimmy Carter, was alerted to several events that were taking place overseas. He had handled that transmission personally. What he basically told me is that the NSA is fully aware of what's going on in an area called the Puzzle Palace. Carter was brought up to speed regarding some events that were taking place over in Iraq and Iran, where several near misses occurred, and some of the Iranian forces, fighter jets, which we sold to them, United States military aircraft, they chased some of these vehicles, and their instrumentations went crazy. And one of the fighter jets almost crashed, but he pulled away from the object, the huge circular-shaped object, and he regained his control of his fighter jet. And he personally handled that traffic to the Pentagon through the NSA. It was all decrypted. In fact, Jimmy Carter was not brought into the loop. They, for some reason, the control group, they don't trust the guy for some reason. They don't trust Jimmy Carter. They were afraid that he would come out and make statements, blanketed statements to the news media, and they just didn't trust him. They didn't trust Jimmy Carter at all. They left him out of the loop. But he was informed by the Chairman and Joint Chiefs of Staff that these events were taking place over in Iran and Iraq, and earlier incidents were taking place, and they're monitoring our war efforts and what we're doing regarding nuclear bombs and other experiments, the aliens. He went in 1974, and he retired, he left the military, the NSA, in about 1985. He said that Henry Kissinger was involved with a study group back in the 50s to study the ramifications of this information if it had leaked through a credible source, what would happen. And they were to do a study and pass off classified information to outside study groups such as the RAND Corporation and other think tanks of this nature to study what would happen if this information were to be leaked out or to talked about from credible people as to what would happen. And Henry Kissinger headed some sort of a study group. Basically, was controlled by Majestic 12 people, the notorious MJ-12, which is no longer called MJ-12. I'm trying to find out the new name of this group. In fact, my contact that worked at Area 51 knows the name of the group, but he's refusing to tell me the name because it was compromised in 1979, 1980. Basically, it's an oversight group intermingled with the National Security Council and the National Security Planning Group in Washington, D.C. It's an oversight policy group like the NSA and the National Security Council, but primarily there's a group called the National Security Planning Group that oversees everything. And Majestic 12 is intermingled with these people, the National Security Planning Group. They have full control. They alert the president of what's taking place, and he either authorizes or just says, hey, you guys go at it. They have full control. They have no congressional oversight whatsoever. They answer to nobody except for the President of the United States. But they're trying to push it aside away from the president now. Well, apparently that's correct. They no longer have that much control over these groups anymore. It's like a separate entity. How they're being funded, I don't know. I can't find that information out. I'd love to find it out, because I can tell you one thing, the General Accounting Office, they don't know what's going on. They don't know where the money's going. They don't know what these groups are doing, what they're studying, and they hide it all in black project operations. They could say it's for research on why ducks don't fly that much or something like that, and they would just hide it in top secret programs. And the president's losing control. He's just absolutely starting to lose control over this. That's why Carter was not brought into the loop. They just don't want to release the information regarding the locations, where they're coming from, where they're originating from. And some of the locations are from Earth. There's underground bases here at Earth where the aliens have constructed bases a long time ago, before Columbus even discovered America, from what I understand. These areas would cause a major upset. In fact, some of the areas were already found through some of the investigations done by a television network called Sightings. They found several of the underground bases down in Puerto Rico. That's the kind of information that the NSA is worried about, is releasing the tracking information, because people that know how to coordinate where things are coming from, like air traffic controllers, degrees, longitudes, and where they're coming from, they could find out more of these underground bases. And this is why the NSA is really afraid to release this information. And this is another reason why the government of Puerto Rico has now fenced off the area where some of these things are coming out of the freshwater lake down there. And we'll just buy off politicians down there to get these things done. Basically, that's the information that the NSA is refusing to release regarding the tracking. And they also cooperate back and forth with the NRO, the National Reconnaissance Organization, regarding tracking and intercepts, along with NORAD, the Air Force, and the Army. They're all in on it, and it's all connected with a top secret group called MAJI Control.
What did he tell you about MAJI Control and how that operates?
MAJI Control is controlled by Office of Naval Intelligence. It's a top secret collection group like the Central Intelligence Agency and the NSA. In fact, the ONI is just like the CIA. It's a top secret organization within the Navy, out of ONI, to collect top secret information, collect information on foreign dignitaries, foreign leaders, the Alien Connected Project primarily. It's similar to the NSA and the CID. It's all encrypted information. They have agents out in the field just like the CIA collecting information. It's all very, very top secret. Operation Looking Glass is a top secret program, project, which is ongoing up at Area 51 to try to see into the future, to try to predict and actually to see into the future, a time travel, to find out what events will take place in the future. And from what I understand, it's currently ongoing up at Area 51 in connection with Project Red Light.
Did they indicate, who let you know about that project?
I heard this from a CIA buddy of mine, the same CIA agent that passed away from cancer up in Utah.
What else did he share with you, the CIA contact? And can you share his name now that he's passed away?
Oh yeah, Brett Merrill.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's the same one.
Yeah.
Did he share with you anything else? That's interesting. Did he share that there was actually a device that assisted in this sort of time travel?
It derives from the alien technology. He did not get into what it looks like or how big it is or anything like that, but it derives from, comes from the alien technology itself. The aliens can go into the future and find out what events will take place many years into the future, and they can also go back in time too. Of course, anti-gravity. Most of the craft operate on anti-gravity and electrogravitic propulsion, and oh yeah, of course, the aliens are at least 4,000 to 5,000 years advanced in our current back in 1947, I would say, but we have jumped so fast in our technology, of course, with their help. Back in 1947, the scientists would say, wow, these guys are at least 4,000 to 5,000 years advanced in us, over us. But now, I would estimate the alien, if we would say an F-1 would crash now, without any help to where we're at now, our technology, we would say they're probably about maybe, probably about 400 years advanced over us and with technology, without any help from them. If something would crash now, oh yeah, we're just about at the conclusion state right now regarding anti-gravity. That's why these little cute little toys are now coming out that are anti-gravity, like the little top that sits there in air and spins. I'll give it maybe about 15 years, and we'll have cars that will levitate using this type of technology. Oh yeah, we're doing it up at Area 51 right now. That's some of the stuff that my buddy worked on up at Area 51, who lives now in Pahrump, Nevada, through Northrup. But yes, we're flying vehicles up there right now, and in Utah right now. They had to have them up at Area 51, and they sent them right up there. Gave them the clearance, top secret carve clearance. Bob Lazar would probably recognize that clearance.
It's called what?
Top secret carve.
C-A-R-V-E?
Right, to carve a steak or something, or carve a turkey. And oh yeah, he's aware of where the aliens are coming from, where their point of origin are, and he's just refusing to tell me this information. It's just so highly classified.
Is he retired now?
Oh yes, he's retired.
Anti-gravity programs or the extraterrestrial programs?
Well, I know that Lytton is, for an absolute fact. Lytton, Hughes Electronics, Optical out here in California, next to the Los Angeles airport. Well, McDonnell Douglas Aircraft Company was at a small level. Now they're at a big level now because Boeing bought McDonnell Douglas Aircraft Company out. I know that Boeing is at least the transportation mode right now, but they will get into the aircraft mode year 2001 to help them out with the projects in Utah and Nevada. In fact, Boeing has an operation in Salt Lake City, Utah right now, so that's not going to be any problem for our government to pull them right in, because they're right in they moved Area 50, most of the stuff from Area 51, at least 35% to 40% of Area 51 to Utah. Just basically those companies, and of course Lockheed and Northrup. Well, primarily people that work at Area 51, if they want a new 4x4, they'll get it. If they want special foods according to their taste, they'll get it. If they want pay increases, they'll get it. They don't have to strike like people working for other companies. You know, for a union or non-union company, they don't have to strike. They'll get it. Yeah, they live like kings. From all of the contacts that I've met, my final conclusion and my thoughts about this is that the reason why our government's afraid to release this information is because of religion. This would probably destroy how we see ourselves. I think they should start releasing some of the information that we have managed to collect on Mars regarding the face on Mars, which I know for a fact is real. In fact, I have another contact at NASA, JPL, that I haven't mentioned. I can't mention too much about it because he's still working there.
Okay. Well, as much as you can.
Well, the person that I know is very high up in NASA. He's not a director or an administrator, but they know what's going on. They know it's a face. They know that it was carved by somebody else other than us. The NASA, JPL, higher-ups and personnel there at JPL, they know for a fact in the imaging area, they know for a fact that the face on Mars is real, and it was not made by windstorms or trick of lighting or anything like that. They know for a fact that the face on Mars was made from an extraterrestrial race that came here to Earth at about 45,000 years BC and set up civilization here on Earth and went back and forth from Mars to our planet Earth to give us information and to further the race that they created, which is us. This is a shock to the human populace, and I think it's the big reason why NASA and all the governments, especially the United States, are refusing to release this information, because one thing will lead to another, and somebody will come to a conclusion that we were created by an extraterrestrial race that came to this solar system and set the planets in their proper order, which they are now in, and exploded the gaseous planet that which we call the sun. And thus God said, "Let there be light." This would be shocking to everybody here on Earth, and this is what they're afraid of releasing. And that's my final conclusion regarding this investigation and who the aliens are. I really feel that the aliens that were on the planet Mars came here and set up our civilization as we now know it, and they created these gray extraterrestrial aliens to watch over our planet to make sure we don't blow up their creation and their planet.